Hello, Cliff Stanwick, Stanwick Real Estate, and today, in another continuing episode of Selling Real Estate, I'm going over Agile home pricing for sellers. Thank you, and welcome to my Facebook Live and YouTube video. Today, I'm going over some pretty important information about selling your home in this market. I think we can all agree there's been a lot of information out there about the market softening, about prices going down, about the interest rates, about the lending environment. All in all, that's all great. But what you really need to be aware of is houses are selling, they're selling quickly, and the ones that are selling quickly are more often than not selling for more money. And there are influences in the pricing. And you, as a seller, need to realize that we have never seen such a dynamic real estate market where inventory and the mortgage interest rates are contributing to a lot of variation in the price. But I think what we really need to do is just hop into some of the data. And I'm going to share with you my screen. So let's start with my disclaimer. My disclaimer basically is that this video is for information purposes only, and it's my opinion. It's not legal advice, it's not tax advice, but it's basically about my advice, having been a real estate agent since 2004. So let's look at the screen share, and this is the first thing I want to talk about. This is off of Zillow. I know a lot of you go to Zillow. Roseville home value, $617,714. And it says it's only 2.3% down from a year. Well, when you scroll down to the bottom of the page here and you look at the 1 year, the 1 year says that that it was $643,000 last March. And today it's over here at 617, but last summer it was $662,000. So it seems like incredibly the market is falling apart. Oh my gosh, we have lost literally 10% of the value of the homes since last June. And I think you have to have some perspective on it. And the first perspective I want to share is I want to share the affordability calculator on real estate fixed. So if you have $25,000 down and you have an annual income of $100,000 and you get a 30-year loan at 6.42% interest, which is, according to the Fed, the economic rates here, that the rates right now, as of last week, were 6.42, that you can basically buy a house for the mean price in Roseville, $622,677. Zillow says it is $617. Okay, now there's not a lot of inventory. We know the inventory is really low. We don't really need to talk about why it's low, but that was $622,000 with the rates. A year ago, they were at the same time they were 4.42%, and if we calculate that, I should take it back. It's 4.42. The rates were 6.22. If we do 6.42, the price now is $503,609. Okay, so those buyers have lost $120,000 in buying power. Meaning the guy who bought a house last year in March, he could have paid $622. He could have he could have paid that price that was a year ago, 643. He probably could put together a deal. Now, when the houses are now down here at $617,000, he basically can only afford that same buyer last year that was good to go on the housing market. Now he can only afford a 503,000 or 503,609 house. That is where that buyer is. But when you look at the prices of, or I should say, if you look at how the prices should be impacted by the mortgage interest rates, guess what? They really haven't been impacted, have they? Because really, that $622,000 house in Roseville, given the average buyer now, can only afford a $500,000 house. Your housing value should be a lot lower. So the housing values aren't a lot lower. So what's going on, right? What's going on basically is that in this market right now, we don't have any inventory, and we have a lot of rate risk where the rates have gone. Right now, they're good right now, but they just popped up a little bit today. So I think they're heading back up towards 6.5. They were around 6. The rates have popped up. The inventory has been down. We have less homes. We have the same amount of buyers, and we have buyers that are negotiating with the sellers, and the sellers are negotiating and offering seller incentives, and those incentives are a host of things. There are credits for repairs, there's incentives for the loans, there's negotiation on the price. So let's look at the data of the 482 houses that I looked at in Roseville. So this is the data I looked at in Roseville, and I'm going to move this up here up higher because I think it'll be more helpful here. This is essentially some data that I ended up doing for Roseville, the market data. It's actually as of today, and I looked at every house in Roseville that was on the market, single family residence. I looked at all the data. I looked at data that was based on 500,000, less than 500,000, 500,000 to 800,000, and 800,000 over. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you've seen that I've broken the market out to be in 3 price ranges. And I think it's a point that's really missed a lot by a lot of people. When you look at the market as a whole, the numbers look not so good. When you look at the market in price segments, the markets are very different. The market for houses under 500,000 and the market for houses over 800,000 are moving pretty quickly. If you look at the houses that are priced between 500 and 800,000, it's a different market. So look at the data that we have here for all the listings. The average days on market are 62. The time that half the houses sell are less than a month, and that's an important thing to realize of all the new listings that are out there, that the median time for a new listing is 28 days, okay? And the prices, the average price is $731, which again is higher than the number that you saw from Zillow of 717, but half the houses are selling or that are listed below 650,000. So we are seeing some lower prices, and a lot of that has to do with, affordability of the market. We'll see that in the data. But the other thing is I want you to look at the pendings. The pendings there's basically 172 listings in Roseville, and there's 187 pendings. And that means basically there's not even a month of inventory in Roseville when you look at the amount of pendings and amount of actives. Now, you'll notice that the average days on market are a little less for the pendings, and the median time is around the same. It's 32 days. And if you look at the solds, basically the solds are 29 days and the average is 50. So what does that mean? It really means that you need to price your house to sell in less than 30 days. And if you've missed that, if you've missed that window, you're going to be on the market for a while. And what does that translate to? Well, that gets into some of this data here that I've done. Okay, so when I look at the 20-day market, one of the things I want to share with you is that both the sold prices on the average and the median, they're higher. And look at the average time on market. It's literally less than a week. You're sold in a week. You price your house correctly, and your house is gone in a week. You're not going to be on the market for months. Okay, now you can even looking at 21 to 31 days here, you're starting to lose money. You're going from 650 to 623 and 639 to 627. This is on the entire population of all the homes. Okay, if you go even longer, 31 to 60, this is interesting from the standpoint that the median price is lower, but the average price is higher. What does that do to? Well, that gets into some of the interest rates, because not only are these houses, it took longer to get sold, all right, they reflect a different interest rate environment, because you got to add another 30 days to this data. So now we're out 75, 90 days. These houses that are 31 to 60, they've been in contract for 3 months, okay? Now, or I shouldn't say 3 months, but they've been on the market for 3 months, and they may have been in there, even longer. So now these are the sold houses, and this is the time that it took them over 61 days to get pending, and so they've been in another 30. They've been at it now for 5 months, most of these houses on the market. And guess what? The prices fall off again, 617 versus 611. So if you look at the median price, that was half the time the houses take to sell. You're basically down $9,000 on the median. But if you look at the original list price, you were up at 731, perhaps, maybe even higher. And now you're down at 611. So, that whole thing, time on market, it definitely plays into it. And then the other thing I want to share with you is when we get into some of the data of the time on market, looking at the price points, right? And just want to share this with you. When we look at $500,000 houses, okay, we'll notice that the median price on the newer listing is $472,530. And the average price is $455. So that means the prices are a little bit lower. Again, that's part of the rate risk. But the other thing I want to share with you is the difference between the median price and the sold price and the pending price. So when the houses are going in pending, it's telling you that you really shouldn't be overpriced. Okay, you need to be lower, because 472 and the median pended price is 449. On the average price, 455 versus 450. If you went out, the average price was, or I should say the median price for pending was 449, but the sold price was 465. So again, you can look at the data here, and the data is telling you, in all sincerity, that you will sell. You'll sell for more money and quicker if you're lower. But again, going through this data, right, you're finding out that the interest rates matter, because if you look at the sold price on the less than 20 days, okay, the median prices are even higher now. The average price, I believe, is was pretty typical of what it was, but the sold prices, because the interest rates were higher, were a lot lower. And I think that is kind of the point I'm trying to make here, is that a lot of the data here is very sensitive to rate risk and inventories, because when the rates go up, the sellers have a tendency to not list their house. And then when the rates go down, we see a bump in the inventory and we see a bunch of sales. And then when the rates go back up, we see the inventory go down, and then we see the pricing go down, right? So again, looking at the $500,000 to $800,000 price range, you'll notice that essentially all the listings, they went out at 621 and they're selling at 619. When you look at the less than 20-day market, basically almost half those listings are ending up, like 20-day listings. 47 of them are pending. So in less than a week, almost all the new listings are selling. And again, the prices are lower. But that's what you have to look at. You have to be agile with your pricing. And again, you'll see, even when we look at it, the impact of some of these of rates and time on market. We have the houses in less than 20 days selling in 9 days. The ones that are 21 to 30, they're on the market for another 2 weeks. When you get into the 31 to 60, they're now almost on, again, 45 days they're on market. And when you get into the 61 days, once you hit over 60 days, they're on the market for 124 days. So again, you have to factor in, you've made 4 mortgage payments, you paid property insurance and taxes for 4 more months, and you may say, oh, it's eventually going to sell, but in this rate, risk, and inventory, you just really don't know, right? So then just wanted to share the $800,000 market, and essentially the median time for the 39 listings is 41 days, but the houses that go out and that are right priced are selling essentially in 7 days. 9 listings sold in 7 days. And then if it didn't sell in a week, it just went towards a month, and then it went more than 2 months, or I should say more than 3 or 4 months, 137, 124 days. So it ends up going 4 months. And look at the prices. The solds are $850 on the median for 60 days. They're $899 for 60 days. They're $946 for 21 days. And they're basically, again, this again is due to the interest rates, but you can see the impact of the interest rates. It's literally, that's where you're really seeing the buyer power showing up here, where, these rates were 7%, 6% a couple of months ago, then they went 6%, and then we're seeing, the rates go up, higher and lower. So what is the tips that I am trying to, share with everybody here, okay, is first of all, it's really important to really understand what your house is worth in this market. I've covered off on this a lot. The main challenge of real estate is 47% are referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative, and then the reality is that you need to get 3 or 4 price estimates of your house, and you need to be you need to play the game. And the game is I want to sell my house in 20 days. You need to talk to some agents and say, hey, I want my house to be in contract in 20 days. It should be in contract in a week. But you say, hey, I want it to be in contract in 2 weeks. What is the listing price of that house? Now, we can talk about marketing all we want, but you can have the greatest marketing in the world. If the price is wrong, it's not going to sell. Marketing Marketing's job is to put your house in front of every buyer. That's the marketing job. The the price is pretty straight up. Um, Buyers are well educated. They've seen this market do all sorts of crazy things. They woke up one day and they found out that the interest rates have priced them out of the market, and they wish they had bought last year, but they want to buy a house. They know the price is better than you know. And that means that when you start the process of getting your house on the market, you need to be very receptive to the most adversarial relationship with your real estate agent. And that is the price they want to sell is not the price that you want. And on top of that, you just think that the real estate agent is taking the easy way out. The real estate agent isn't taking the easy way out. The real estate agent knows that time is not their friend when it comes to marketing your house. Real estate agents know that last year, that if you didn't get an offer the first weekend, you missed. Well, not a lot has changed, even with the higher rate market. The buyers are out there. They know the price. If your house doesn't sell or have 10 showings and at least an offer or two, you missed. And they know you missed too. So guess what? They're going to watch your house. And when it's hit the market around 30 plus days, if nothing else is there to look for or look at, they may come back and look at your house. So the first thing is really understand what the real estate community says your house is worth. Okay? That means don't just trust the referral. Yeah, he's a great agent. She's a great agent. Get some more opinions. Doesn't cost anything to say you're interviewing for the listing of my house. You may really like your agent, but why don't you get some validation of what they're telling you? Okay? Why not get 2 or 3 other prices on the house? What's wrong with that? You know, I mean, if I can't handle someone else interviewing for the listing, well, I guess I never had the listing. So you need to be the same way. This is a lot of money right now. If you're looking at last summer, you're saying, oh my gosh, I lost some money here. But the reality is when you get into the numbers, when you look at how the market moves, we don't care about the entire market. We care about the typical market. The typical market, the houses are selling in a week. If your house is on the market longer than the week, you miss the price. How are you going to keep your house fresh? How are you going to make up for it? The biggest thing is don't miss the price. I hate to tell you this. If your house goes out low, you're going to have a ton of showings and you're still going to get some good offers. And we're still seeing multiple offers in this market, and we're still seeing houses sell above list. Not as many as last year, not in general, but the market is not ever going to generate a deal for a buyer. It just doesn't. So don't worry about where you start. Worry about where you end. Okay? And understand how the price is impacted by the upgrades, the features, the amenities, the condition of the property, the location of the property, all the amenities again, schools, churches, work, entertainment, recreation, right? All those impact the value. And pool and solar does help you get more money for your house. So understand all these factors and get the right price, right? Tip number 2, be flexible on your listing date. If we have a banking crisis, probably should not list your house that week. So make sure that you list your house and put a waiver on there for 30 or 40 days. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and list it sooner, but be flexible on that on market date. Don't decide that I'm going out next Tuesday. Same thing. If the weather's terrible that weekend, maybe not list your house, right? Be tactical and flexible about your listing date. The other thing is to stay on top of the market activity. You go out on the market and your neighbor's house sells for $50,000 less and it's the same floor plan, I think you have a problem. And the answer is why is your house worth more? And you need to have an honest evaluation about that house, being more. If there's a lot of new home construction available or new homes available, that's going to impact your house. So you need to know what's going on and what they're doing and how they're competing and how they're selling houses, because the best professionals sellers in this market are the new construction sellers. Okay, the John Moyers, the JMCs, okay, the Elliott Homes, the Hovarian, all those. And if I left anyone out, I'm sorry. There's a Lennar, Richmond. There's tons of new homes out there, and they're selling homes, and they're not giving up the list price. So again, you have to be very much unaware of what the seller incentives are in this market, whether or not there's closing costs being paid. Yes, there are closing costs being paid. Whether or not there are seller credits being offered for repairs. Yes, there are seller credits being offered for repairs. And the other thing that you might want to do is you might want to be very tactical. If the rates go up, pull your house off the market for a week, put it on hold, wait for the rates to go down, or take the house off the market for 30 days if you really missed the price, and go back out. The house resets as a new listing. So you have to be agile. You have to be flexible. You have to be realistic. You have to really realize that you just may have some really bad luck, right? But you're on this market right now because you have to sell. And I'm not saying that it's a distress sale. I'm saying there's a reason why you're selling, and you have to sell in this market. This is not a market where people are going out there to quote unquote test the market to see if I can get this money, or I think I could sell it for this. This is not the market to see what your house is worth, because the reality of it is the house is competing with a lot of people who have to sell their house because of a life change, and because of work or family or status, and they're selling their house. And this isn't a market that isn't impacted by not only an extreme low inventory, but a lot of mortgage interest rate risk and fear associated, just like I shared with you before on the affordability, right? If you go out to the affordability thing, and this is always interesting thing to look at, if you go out to the affordability and we crank this thing up to 7% and we hit calculate, that buyer just lost $25,000 worth of buying power. So again, I didn't want to make this a huge video. I just wanted to sit there and share with you that this is a market where sellers really have to work well with their agent. They have to trust their agent. They have to believe in their agent. And they also have to be as much of a pricing professional as their agent. And if they want to sell their house in this market, they have to be willing to be very agile in the pricing. So I want to thank you for joining the video today. If you would subscribe or like my YouTube or my Facebook page, I'd really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help you in determining a price for your house if you're selling your home, I would love to do that. With that, I wish you all the best in selling your home in 2023. Thank you and have a great day.